Hi, I'm Alan Treadwell, and today we're going to be reviewing the Tracker 700 EPS. Go! This is Tracker's version of the 700 ATV that's commonly found in the marketplace today. And during this review video, we're going to look at things such as price, specifications, performance, and features. And by the end of the video, I hope you can decide whether or not this is the ATV for you. The Tracker 700 has class-leading front and rear suspension travel and electronic power steering, plus a ton of other features I'm going to be looking at for you. First, let me tell you how easy it is to buy a Tracker off-road vehicle. When you decide to buy, you'll be introduced to what's called no haggle, no hassle pricing. No haggle, no hassle means that the prices are consistent across the nation. You don't have to haggle back and forth about pricing, knowing what you see on the price tag is the true cost to own. That also means with Tracker Off-Road, you know what you'll pay in advance. See the price in the description below, or simply go to trackeroffroad.com or an authorized dealer to see the price right now. It's that easy. As you will see, the price is tough to beat. I've looked at a lot of other 700 class ATVs out there, and dollar for dollar, feature for feature, the 700 appears to me the best value hands down. Now let's take a look at this ATV so you can decide for yourself. Okay, let's take a look at some of the specifications of this Tracker 700 EPS. It's 83.4 inches long, 48.5 inches at its widest, 49.5 inches tall at its highest point. The wheelbase, now that's the measurement from the center of the front axle to the center of the rear axle, and that's 52 inches. The weight of this unit comes in at 699 pounds, which is also 317 kilograms. The 700 is available in 3 colors, black, green, or red. You can also choose True Timber Camouflage, which comes with the Woodman Edition. I'll talk more about upgrades and accessories later in the video. And here's something else I learned. All Tracker off-road vehicles are designed, engineered, and assembled by Textron, right here in the US, in Minnesota and Georgia. Textron is an American company, and like virtually every other high-quality manufacturer of modern equipment, they get their parts from both American and global sources. And like other Trackers that I've had a chance to look over, they're all built very well. For example, check out what I've learned about the frame. Tracker ATV frames are built from what's called HSLA. That means high-strength, low-alloy steel. This material maximizes strength, and it's a lot lighter. I encourage you to compare that to a lot of ATVs like I did. You'll learn many are made using common carbon steel frames. Another thing to compare. When you look at the Tracker ATV, the frame runs all the way to the back. A lot of their competitors' frames stop at the rear differential. Now, why is that important to you? Because the additional steel makes the frame stiffer and more durable, but without picking up additional weight. And now you see why HSLA steel is so great. It's got better performance, you get more frame, and it's still lighter overall. Now let's jump right into what makes the 700 such a smooth ride, and it's gotta be the suspension. The 700 features a AA arm suspension with a full 10 inches of suspension travel, and that's both front and back. Now, suspension travel is where the shock and spring move to absorb the jolts from hitting holes and bumps. Now, what that means for you? A smoother ride. The 700 measures a full 10 inches of suspension travel. Comparing that to other brands in the industry, it's better than most, including Yamaha, Honda, and Can-Am. And why is that important to you? Because quality, high-performance suspension not only makes for a much smoother ride, but allows the ATV to be more stable and much easier to control. Watch how this low-angle view of the Tracker 700 clearly shows that the left and right suspensions are fully independent, not only from front to back, but side to side. A little earlier today, I put a few miles on this 700, and I'm blown away by how truly smooth the ride is. Now come down here, I want to show you something. We have adjustable shocks on this unit all the way around, and it actually comes with a tool where you can adjust this to make the suspension right for you. Let's say you want to haul a heavier load, then you dial up the stiffness. You simply jack the front end up and adjust to your desired setting. The higher setting increases preload and ride height to maintain ride quality when hauling more weight. The lower setting decreases preload, ensuring a smooth ride for normal operating conditions. When it comes to ground clearance, the 700 EPS is best in class with a full 11 inches of ground clearance, and that's really important to get you over logs and sticks and even ruts and ditches. I'm down here on the ground and I want to show you something on the underside of this machine that maybe you didn't know was there, but you're going to be happy that it is. It's a full-length skid plate that runs front to back, and it's made out of high-strength polymer. And what it does, it protects the frame and the drivetrain from any sort of debris or big rocks while you're on the trail. Tracker has added these polymer plates to protect critical areas like the shaft and the engine. The polymer material means it won't corrode in the elements that can range from water to mud to manure. The Tracker 700 EPS comes standard with general purpose ATV tires. And there's two benefits to that. Number one, they're great on flat ground, give you a smooth ride, and they're aggressive enough to get you out of some muck and mud and snow. This tread pattern also helps to shed excess mud or snow quickly, which helps the traction in slippery conditions. The tires in the front are 25 inches tall by 8 inches wide, and they're mounted to this 12-inch wheel. The tires in the back are bigger and measure 25 tall and 10 inches wide. Now they are wider in back because it adds traction and balances the vehicle's weight better. The wheels are tough, powder-coated steel that's especially designed to absorb the bumps and jolts of ATV life. Now here's something I'm really excited about. Tracker calls it the RTS, which is Rapid Traction System. Now what that means is, actually while you're on the move, you can reach up with one finger and flip this thing into four-wheel drive. Now what I'm used to is having to come to a complete stop, push a button, flip a lever, and you lose that momentum. So if you are getting stuck, you're gonna have to stop and it's gonna sink you down in the mud. This way you never lose your momentum. You reach up, you flip the button, four-wheel drive, and you keep going. Now let me show you the reverse override switch. If you're in reverse, the 700 limits the RPMs, but if you press this yellow button, it removes the engine limiter circuit and allows for full throttle. This is important if you're in reverse and need more power. The Tracker 700 EPS has variable electronic power steering, and that's a huge deal. Why? Well, let me tell you. At slower speeds, it really helps you turn those handlebars, and you can feel it helping you turn, making steering a breeze. The faster you go, it electronically dials back the power because you need less input. It backs off, letting you feel the road, and at higher speeds, you don't want your steering to be overly sensitive. I want to briefly talk about the braking system of this 700 EPS for just a second. Now it uses a single lever, all hydraulic braking system. What that means, with a simple pull, and it's very easy to pull because of the hydraulics, it distributes brake amongst all four tires very effortlessly. So look, 2 fingers and you're slowing this machine down. Being hydraulic means very low pressure with your fingers makes the brake go to work without you having to pull hard like on most older ATV models. There's also a foot brake on the right side if you prefer to use that. The Tracker 700 EPS has a liquid-cooled, single-cylinder, single overhead cam, gasoline engine with EFI. You don't have to understand everything that means to have a great time with this ATV, but let's briefly talk about the features of its power. Okay, first, the EFI stands for electronic fuel injection. The Tracker 700 has what's called closed-loop EFI, meaning it has an exhaust sensor that constantly regulates temperature and fuel mixture. This provides consistent throttle response in all operating conditions. It improves fuel economy, improves cold starting, and regulates fuel flow better at elevation. The engine is 695 cc, or cubic centimeters, which can easily handle a wide variety of loads. We'll talk about overall speed, hauling, and pulling power in this video coming up shortly. Starting the 700 EPS is very simple. The first thing you want to do is reach down and grab your shift lever and pull it all the way back to you, making sure you're in park. So you got a 2-position key. In the first position, the unit is ready to start. In the second position, you actually activate the headlights. The next thing you do, reach up, grab the brake, and push the green button. To kill the engine, simply slide the kill switch to the left, but you will have to move it back to the right to refire the engine. Like most cars and trucks, the Tracker 700 EPS has a radiator. That means it's liquid cooled. So if you're riding in really tough conditions, really hot, way back in the backwoods, it gives you confidence to know that you're going to be able to make it all the way back without your engine overheating. The single cam design of this engine means the camshaft is situated over the engine cylinder. The design uses less moving parts, gets better fuel economy, and has better torque on the low-end range, which is good for where most people use their ATVs. Now I know that's a bit complicated, but a simpler engine simply means longer lasting with less parts to wear and thus less expensive to operate. Now the Tracker 700 has an engine braking system. Now what that means is when you're going down a steep incline like that one behind me and you let off the throttle, the compression of the engine actually acts like a brake and slows that machine down as it's going downhill. Now let's talk about the engine's power and how that power is transferred to the wheels. Now the Tracker 700 EPS uses a CVT transmission to get the job done. CVT means a continuously variable transmission, and they're found in automobiles like the Toyota Prius or even snow machines. Tons of vehicles use CVT these days, and it's no wonder why, because it's known as the shiftless transmission. Basically, it means it automatically takes care of the shifting for you. It's very smooth and it provides power at every speed without a surge or a pause that you may be used to on older units. It also continuously adjusts. If you add more throttle to speed up, the CVT adjusts to add more power to the wheels. The choices for the transmission are H, L, N, R, and P. That means high speed, low speed, neutral, reverse, and park. When the 700 is set to park, it's also a parking brake for the unit so it won't roll away on unlevel ground. Now one question you might be asking yourself is how fast will this ATV go? Well, that's a great question, and the answer is actually, it depends. First, I'll tell you speed can vary a lot by the conditions that you're in. What is your total load weight? Are you a big guy or a small gal? Is the ground level or are you on a hill? There are a lot of factors that can affect your top speed. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, you should never ride a four-wheeler on hard pavement, so please don't do that. I was able to find a long flat stretch in a big field and really open the 700 up. Going both directions, I averaged about 52 to 55 miles an hour. Now, if you're all about pure speed, there are a few faster ATVs out there, so this unit might not be right for you. On the other hand, when you consider the whole package, with its features and especially the price, it's plenty fast for most folks. Of course, you'll need to decide that for yourself. Another great question is how much can this ATV haul or pull? Well, I was wondering the same thing, and here's how the 700 checks out. The overall capacity is 515 pounds of load. The front rack rates at 100 pounds, and the rear rack rates at 200 pounds. That leaves about another 215 pounds for the rider and fuel. Now, you never want to overload these racks, and the 700 might not be right for you if you want to haul really big, heavy loads. So carefully think about what your needs are before you buy. One thing I really like on this 700 is this 2-inch receiver hitch. Now, if you look at other models on the market, a lot of them have 1.25 inches. But if you're like me and you have a boat or a trailer that you're pulling all the time, you probably already have a 2-inch receiver hitch with a ball on it. All you gotta do is take it off of your truck, slide it in, and you're ready to start pulling. Now let's look at towing capacity. The 700 can tow an impressive 1,050 pounds, and that makes it handy for various accessories like plows and pulling a trailer. Now these hardened steel racks, they're bolted directly to the frame, so they're super solid. So when you're hauling heavy loads back here, there's gonna be no compromise. Something I wanna show you that I thought was pretty cool. A lot of people use rubber grommets that are gonna fail over time. Tracker's using a stainless steel fastener. And when I was under here looking, I noticed something else. The battery is right here, easy to get to. It's not underneath the machine. When you compare that to other models, it really makes you appreciate a battery that's gonna be easy to change. The seat feels really comfortable, and it's solid foam that shouldn't sag or break down over time. It's been comfortable for a long ride, and when I consider the seat along with the 700's generous travel suspension range, it really does impress just how smooth it rides. Up front, the Tracker 700 offers an impressive cockpit with an array of instruments that keeps you informed during your ride. The digital gauges gives you a speedometer for how fast you're moving, an odometer for total miles on the unit, and a trip meter that you can reset for each trip as desired. And the tachometer lets you keep an eye on the RPMs of the engine. The gear indicators show if you're in park, neutral, high or low, or reverse. There's a fuel gauge that has a low fuel warning when needed. That's the radiator temp, and it warns you if things get too hot. And here's a good feature. This is an hour meter for overall engine runtime. This is especially handy for maintenance because unlike a car, an ATV needs to have its oil changed or other maintenance items based on total runtime or interval hours between maintenance. Keeping a log based on engine hours can really pay off in the long run. Rounding out the digital gauge, you'll find a clock, high beam headlight indicator, and a battery voltage gauge. The lighting system on the Tracker 700 includes dual LED taillights that are both running lights and brake lights. Up front, there are dual halogen headlamps that feature a high and low beam setting. These are very bright, which is especially helpful in really dark conditions. So in this video so far, we've taken a good long hard look at the specifications and the features of the 700, but we haven't looked at the performance yet. And what better way to do that than get it out here on the test course and see how it actually does in real world situations. Now keep in mind, this course wasn't built for speed, it was built to mimic everyday riding, things you're going to encounter in the field. So let's get on it and see how she performs. To really review the performance of the 700, I wanted to see how it would do in steep conditions, slippery conditions, wet and rocky areas, and over obstacles like this waffle course. The 700 is impressive in two-wheel drive, and in four-wheel drive, it's not impossible to get stuck, but you might really have to work at it. First, check out the grade on this hill. Now believe me, it's steep, and as you can see, the 700 handles it with no problem. Next to this little double hill, and it's high in the middle to show you the impressive ground clearance of the 700. When it's wet, muddy, and even rocky all in one, that's real life, right? The 700 had no issues. I felt confident no matter the terrain, wet or dry, and power steering through this mess at low speeds was simply a dream. The waffle course really tests the suspension in the ride. While it's really bumpy on purpose, the stability and comfort was still surprising. The 700 feels great, even with this punishment. The overall handling felt crisp, the power steering is crazy good, and the shocks from bumps didn't transmit into my arms no matter how rough it got. I was able to get the 700 EPS off-road on a buddy's farm. From open pastures to deep woodlands with ravines and trails full of laydowns, the 700 performed as expected and admittedly sold me on its overall power and ride quality. From slow and careful to faster and carefree, and on every kind of surface I could find, this ATV proved itself worthy. Like I said earlier, dollar for dollar, this Tracker 700 cannot be beat. Guys, I gotta say I'm impressed. You know, I really didn't think this review would be complete without touching on a consideration you might not have thought of, and that's the warranty. While this ATV looks to be well constructed out of solid materials and tight tolerances, isn't it nice to know there's a 12-month warranty? Compare that to just 6 to 12 months for many other brands. Plus, you can easily extend your warranty from 12, 24, 36, and even 48 additional months. That's up to 5 years of coverage for your new Tracker off-road vehicle. Plus, know that you can get this warranty service at authorized Tracker off-road dealers. Be sure you consider that as you check out other various ATVs in this class. Well, that's my review of the Tracker 700. It's an impressive looking rig, and if you're looking for a powerful performing ATV with power steering, best in its class suspension, this just might be the unit for you. But the 700 might not be right for you if you're wanting people to ride with you, or you want to haul heavier or bigger loads, or even if you want to tow even heavier accessories. For those needs, you should seriously consider a side-by-side unit like the Tracker 800SX or the SX Crew. So if you're looking for a 700 class ATV that gets the job done, this may be the ATV for you. As always, seeing it in person is a great idea, so I recommend stopping at a Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, or an authorized Tracker off-road dealer and get a personal tour. Before I go, be sure to click subscribe and check out Tracker Off-Road on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, stay safe on and off-road.